If you give me about 3 minutes, I'm going to give you a different way to go about achieving your goals. Tell me if this sounds familiar, some version of this. So if you had it in you to do it, you would have done it already. Does that sound familiar? Have you heard someone say that? Maybe the voice in your head? That's the thing with traditional goal setting. We set goals only to have them fizzle out. But what if there was a better way? The traditional goal setting path really leads us down to a path of constant tracking and possible disappointment. So we're going to take that differently and we're going to flip the script on it. I decided to make an anti goal setting approach. It simplifies the equation. So we're flipping the script. But of course, you might be asking why? Why do we need to change this? Bothering with a new approach seems like overkill, maybe. But the old ways weren't working for everyone. This is goal setting evolved. So let's talk about it. What is the anti-goal setting approach? The magic is in the metrics with this one. So you find out what you really need to measure, and then you forget about the goal itself. It's about what you can measure, and you then let go of the goal, let it out of your mind. But of course, it sounds good in theory, but let's talk about a real life example for a second. So here's how it worked for me. I've used it in many different areas, but here are the key places that you can find it. And one, I used it with finances, weight loss. And I think it's like those are the two places where people say, how do you find something and make it work? I always think that the realest places where you can't speed up or take shortcuts is money, weight loss, and farming. It's going to take how long it takes for something to grow, pretty much. And the same thing goes for your body. The same thing goes for your finances. So for me, let's pick the example of after COVID. During COVID, I was working from home like everybody else. And over that time, I pretty much got in the worst shape of my adult life. Embarrassed to say, I gained roughly 30 pounds and I got up to about 260 pounds, which is the heaviest I have ever been. But to couple with that, I also I lost strength, I lost muscle. And so I was very weak and very out of shape and very fat. That was a problem. So I decided to initially go back to the gym with my old mindset, right? Which is, what, I'm going to go back, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm like, cool, I need to lose X amount. And that's the thing is I've always set goals to lose weight at some point in my life. And that approach has never really worked. But every time I go back to doing it and I re-up on the same bad approach. So this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm going to change this around, right? What am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to achieve an increase in strength and I'm trying to achieve weight loss. So I'm like, okay, what would make it inevitable for me to do that? And how would I be able to measure it? Well, I was like, okay, cool. I could tell it if the numbers went down on the scale and if my strength went up based on the weights that I could lift. Like, all right, what would make that inevitable? And I'm like, all right, if I did cardio consistently, no matter how little, and if I made sure that I maintained a minimum amount of reps that I'm doing. So that's what I did. I set the goal. I'm going to go to the gym every day and I'm going to do a minimum of 10 minutes and at least 60 reps. So 10 minutes of cardio and 60 reps. But I'm going to go to the gym every day. I don't have to do more than that. So I could go do 60 push-ups, that's 60 reps, and 10 minutes of slow walking on the treadmill. That's 10 minutes of cardio. And it would meet my qualification. But the thing is, I was going to go every day for 90 days. And I went for 30 days and I passed 30 days. So after I passed 30 days, I bumped it to 90 days. And then after 90 days, I bumped it to 365 days. And somewhere between day 1 and well before day 365, I had increased my strength. So my rows had dropped down to where I could do them comfortably was 25 pounds without feeling some pain somewhere. That jumped all the way up to 240 pounds. And my weight, I dropped 30 pounds and I was down to I touched 230 pounds and then kind of floated back up to 234 pounds consistently. I'm assuming some of that was muscle gain. But that was like a real life example of this. What are other additional examples? Obviously, I talked about weight loss. With finances, the same thing kind of applies. If you look at, are you automatically setting aside money to come out of your account and go into your investment account? Right? That's a very automated way of doing this, but the lead measure is how much do you put towards your investment monthly? Honestly, it could apply for your mental health. Just sitting down okay, cool. If you're meditating every day, that's your lead measure. It's not how calm were you in a time of crisis when that finally happens. So those are some examples, additional examples of that. So you have to ask yourself, what are some places where you could apply this in your life? Maybe you can see some results. So you can apply it at home, you could apply it at work, you can apply it in your relationships. So let's look at a step-by-step implementation really quickly. So the first part is you visualize. You really stop, you think ahead. What is the end result that you're after? That's the thing. You have to see it, see that end result. Now, once you envision that end result, you need to figure out how you would measure it, right? So you have to know if you've made progress or not. So you got to figure out how would you measure it if you've reached that end result, because you don't want to get there and pass it. The next thing is you have to grab your metric, right? Which is, for me, it was strength and size. You just grab your metrics, the numbers you're going to measure, and then you move on from there. The next step is you're going to routinize this. So you're going to turn this into a routine. Is routinize a word? I don't know. But anyway, the first step to do is that you break it down into sub steps that would make it inevitable. For me, that was doing cardio more often and lifting weights more often. And then you find a leading indicator, which is you should find something that you can tell today or this week if you are on track towards your end goal that you visualized, if you're on track towards meeting your metric. And you shouldn't have such a feedback loop that it takes you longer than a day or at most a week to know if you are heading in the right path. Then you cement that into a daily or weekly routine and you commit to following it. That's the key. Extract the leading indicator, cement that into your daily or weekly routine, and then you commit to following it. And the third step is you actualize, right? There's a long climb up that mountaintop. But the third step is you can actualize that, right? You set minimums and maximums. This will allow you to not do too much or not do too little. You have to know when you're winning on the daily basis. Then you make it almost impossible to fail. This is not about beating yourself up. This is about actually doing the things you need to stay on track so that you move towards the end result. It's just about making sure that every step you take sends you in that direction, which means you don't want to make it hard for you to take steps. So make it almost impossible to fail. And the third thing is you follow it like your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. In order for you to actualize and live the type of life you want, you need to be able to envision something and then make it happen. And if you do this and you follow this consistently, then you can expect results. And it's really a matter of the area, right? You can just show up and you're in the middle of it. You're living your goal now. It's a part of you. And really, it's about any area of your life that you want to transform. So don't just set your goals, make them inevitable. The anti-goal setting approach isn't about being aimless. It's about aiming smarter and then heading towards it. You want to be always in the center of that bullseye with every step that you're taking. Give it a try, see how it goes for you. And if you have any feedbacks, definitely share it. You can find me on IG, X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, JP Adams Online. That's where you can find me.